It's time for the Douglas Coleman Show. Mr. Smooth and Savvy is joined by guests from all walks of life, from the entertainment industry to authors to political and social commentators, the famous and not so famous, the controversial and the light and fluffy. We have it all. Now, here's Douglas Coleman.
Okay, please welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show, Joel Cohen. Hey, Joel, how are you?
Hell, I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thanks for coming on the show. Nice to have you here. As we were just talking about, you've got lots of stuff on your bio, and you are here to promote a book. Book is called The Occasionally Accurate. Is it Annals or Annals?
I would say Annals. Annals.
Just to be safe.
Two N's.
Yeah.
Yes, always safe is always best in that with that word. Yes, Annals.
The Occasionally Accurate Annals of Football. I am not a big football person, sports generally speaking, although I grew up in Boston and you were sort of obligatorily required to root for the Red Sox and occasionally the Bruins in the wintertime. Yeah. But I was never a sports guy. I was always, the music geek. In terms of technical football stuff, I'm not going to be real good. Like, I'm not one of those guys that can just name, every player that ever played football.
I feel like this is a book made for people that, first of all, love football and know all about it, and then don't know so much about it, because it's just a general, fun, hopefully funny book that, just covers the surface stuff, I think, that people know about football and delves into players and teams. And then if you do know football, there's also another level for you where we reference stuff that you might get. But it's on a light enough level that I hope it appeals to people that are not rabid NFL fans. You certainly don't need to be. We don't ask you to sign a contract beforehand or anything.
All right. Well, maybe I'll check it out. It might be
Okay, sure. Thank you. I love that enthusiasm. Thank you.
Might be a fun, light read, yeah.
Yes, that's the plan. Is a fun, light read is all we're going for.
Okay. Well, according to your bio, you were born and raised in Calgary, Canada. All right. How far is that from Banff? And I think you're supposed to pronounce both Fs. Yeah. Is it Banff?
I grew up there, and I lived only pronouncing one F, and I was beaten up many times, but never for that. So I think you can go just with one F. But the beauty of Calgary is actually how close it is to Banff. You land in Calgary and then you drive, let's say, an hour and a half, depending on your speed and conditions, and you're in Banff. So it's quite close to Banff. But Calgary is a little bit like the Denver of Canada, but with the mountains just nearby. And Banff is spectacular.
Well, I've seen some travel vlogs of Banff, and it looks amazing. And there's this one big daunting hotel that looks like it's been there forever.
Yeah, it's called the Banff Springs Hotel, and I didn't do any research for this call, but I'm sure it's like 150 years old. It's part of this amazing chain of hotels that used to be owned by the railroads and sprung up all across Canada. So there's gorgeous ones all over, but that is particularly, if they ever did a Canadian version of The Shining, it would be at that hotel. It's really gorgeous.
Yeah, that's what it
and Banff has many nice hotels.
Yeah, The Shining. It definitely had that, except it wasn't like all by itself. It looked like it was kind of right in the city center or the town center.
It's a little walk, and the ghosts are Canadian, so they're a little more polite, and they have funny accents, and they just want to warm up. That's all. That's the only reason they're inside, is to warm up.
And
it's quite beautiful.
And they all love hockey. Is there any Canadian that does not like hockey?
If we find out about them, we chase them across the border, and they're not welcome back. We tear up their passport. We teach them to speak American, and we send them across the border. They're not welcome back. It's pretty pervasive, but there are certainly some, I'm sure.
Oh, that's what I like to hear. Absolutely. Unity. Something we need more
exactly.
of. So aside from the book, you've also been a writer at The Simpsons for the last 23 years. That's great. That is fantastic. And I see
I'm standing there right now. I'm speaking to you. There was a writer's strike, which has ended, but so we're now back at work, and I'm on Simpson premises right now.
Oh, fantastic! I have not watched network television. Simpsons is on Fox. Is that right?
We'll air on Fox, and then if you want to stream it, it's on Disney Plus, and I think Hulu as well.
Oh, okay, all right. I haven't watched television probably in a couple of decades. I remember as soon as I got my first computer and the internet became a thing, I was avidly looking to hook my TV to the computer. And as soon as that was technically possible, television disappeared. I canceled I think we had cable in those days. And I canceled the cable, and that was it. I never looked back. So
wow.
I haven't watched any. If I need to watch something like that, especially now with the war that just started in Israel. So now all of a sudden I'm kind of like, why did I cancel the cable? But there's enough live stream going on YouTube and stuff that you can pretty much keep abreast of everything that's going on over there.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I don't want to espouse the values of not paying for television because that will cut into my salary at some point. But yeah, everything is out there everywhere and anyhow. And usually, like you said, if something is really great or fascinating, it is quickly picked up by the internet in some capacity. So it's a group. Yeah, I'm not saying you need TV anymore.
Well, and you get the choice of shorts or the whole thing. So if your attention span is only going to warrant a minute of whatever it is, then you've got all these shorts people putting up, and it's insane the amount of content that's out there. It's
a problem, but I'm willing to let it stop after I don't have a job anymore. For now, let's just keep doing it, and then in like 5 or 10 years, just to screw the next generation of writers, let's stop it all. But I want it to last while I'm taking some money from it.
Well, you mentioned the writer's strike, and I know that it is recently ended. Did you guys get what you wanted out of it, basically?
Yes, I think ultimately yes. I mean, of course, it's not ever decisively one way or the other, but it was what we got in the end. I'll say was worth striking for. And had we not gone on strike, we probably would not have gotten it. And it's as we've discussed a lot already. I work on The Simpsons, which is this network show that does 22 episodes. But the people that are really going to benefit immediately from the strike are the people that are on these streaming shows on Netflix or Amazon or Hulu or whoever. Who were really having a hard time just making enough money to live in Los Angeles, certainly, or just live in general. It was becoming like a minimum wage job for a lot of people. So now that level of writing has been protected by the strike, which was kind of the ultimate goal of it.
So the content creators were not in the same league as the network content creators, in the indies, in other words?
I mean, league is a sort of different way to look at it, but I mean, what was happening was, like I said, I work on The Simpsons. We do 22 episodes every year, and we they're rerun on Fox, which pays a much higher residual, like a royalty every time they air. But like, as you probably know, like a Netflix series might only do 6 episodes or 8 episodes, and then they rerun on Netflix forever and ever and ever, and they pay a very low royalty. So we wanted to sort of make sure that people that are working on those shows were able to have some sort of income from the show, but then also for the long periods that writers suffer between shows, that's where those residuals kind of help prop up your life. So those had to be bumped up a little bit, and those are all things that we achieved.
Well, one thing I know about Netflix is that they have this nasty habit of putting like all the shows out at once. It's just a big dump of shows, and then there's nothing. What was it? House of Cards started like that, where they dumped all 13 episodes at one time, and that was it. Where the networks still do like one a week, in the traditional way.
And you see that on Max, which is the Warner Brothers, HBO, whatever thing, that they have every net streaming service kind of approaches it a different way, where sometimes they will just dole them out once a week. And then, like you said, Netflix kind of just vomits them into a pile and hopes that you just binge them all in 3 days or 4 days. That's kind of their model. And they just every week have a new, I'm sure this isn't the way the marketing describes it, a new pile of vomit for you to binge on. But yeah, they just keep putting stuff out rapidly and hoping that it just draws you in because there's always something new. And these other places just kind of try to hook you in and keep you by just once a week. So I can't say which one works better, but those are some different strategies.
So I know Fox is a huge organization, but do you happen to know Trey Yingst?
I don't. And actually, I work for Disney because Disney bought Fox. But the show is still broadcast on Fox. But I didn't know him then, and I don't know him now, and I'll make you a promise I'll never meet him in the future. How about that?
Why, you don't like him? Or is it just...
No, I don't know. I have no idea who he is. I'm sure he's a lovely person, but I want to make you some sort of promise, and that seemed like an easy one I could live up to.
Oh, all right. Okay. No, I've been trying to find a connection to him because I've been watching him on... He's the one that's in the middle of the war right now with the helmet on, reporting from from the front lines. And I know Ian Pannell, who is on ABC, who is sort of his, partner in crime over there. And I'm trying to see if I could get Trey on the show, but I'm having no luck getting a direct connection. And I'm sure he's busy at the moment.
I don't know. I'm sure, like you said, I'm sure he's busy now, and we don't eat at the same commissary. I'll say that, but I hope he's certainly okay. And I do know the guy Ian. I think his name on ABC. I've seen him on TV, but I don't know Trey.
Yeah, Ian was a BBC. What do they call that when they
correspondent?
Well, no. When they steal you, he was originally on BBC, and then ABC sort of scoffed him up. But there's a difference.
Poached him.
Poached. Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
that's the word.
Poached, yes. No one has ever wanted to poach me, and yet I know the term. So maybe one day I can dream, right?
Well, you certainly are in good company. I mean, I see a lot of names on here: Adam Sandler, Andy Richter, Conan O'Brien. Are you guys all beer buddies? Yeah,
contributed to the book. Yeah, I mean, I don't know Conan. I've met him, but I would never say I know him. But Andy, certainly, I would say is a bit of a friend. And Sandler was a friend of Dan Patrick's. The book is written with Dan Patrick, the sportscaster. And he even got a quote from Will Ferrell, Tony Dungy, Mike Florio, Rich Eisen, Andre Kramer. So these are all big names, of course, in the world of sports. Sandler is just a big name. So Sandler wrote the foreword for the book. Will Ferrell endorsed it with a blurb. I dragged in Andy Richter and a bunch of writers from Saturday Night Live and The Big Bang Theory and Modern Family and New Girl and et cetera, Ted Lasso. And they all just contributed stuff to the book. But those are some of the names and people, contributors in the book.
Well, so whose idea was it to write the book, yours or Dan's?
Dan, we had cast Dan. There's an episode of The Simpsons that's coming up in December that I wrote about Homer getting addicted to cheating. And one of the events he cheats at is a rock skipping contest. And we wanted to have a sportscaster announcing it. So I am a fan of Dan Patrick's. I listen to his radio show all the time. So I just said, let's try Dan Patrick. So he said yes, which was very nice of him. And then when we were recording him, he and I just started, talking, goofing around. And he had a bunch of funny ideas about football. And I threw some things back to him about football. And then we kind of looked at each other and said, hey, maybe this is a book. And here we are, a year later. And then it turns out it is a book. It was sort of born out of this conversation. But the episode that Dan is in on The Simpsons will be out in December. But he's really funny in the episode. He's very funny in the book, and it seemed like a good partnership.
Well, Homer cheating at rock skipping sounds hysterical, just the premise of that.
Oh, and there's more. He cheats. He starts off cheating at a fishing contest. Then he cheats at at frisbee golf. He cheats at a slap, one of those competitions where people slap each other across the face. He cheats at poker. He doesn't stop cheating, and it of course doesn't always end the way he thinks it will. But it's a funny episode. It's in December.
Okay, I'm looking at the talking points for the book. Now, why is Wayne Gretzky in here?
Well, part of the book is just like I said. We have all these different contributors, and it does talk about the history of the league and every team and lots of players that everyone knows. But we also just have these kind of essays populating the book. Much like Adam Sandler's foreword. And one of them we did with an analytics firm where we actually just compared the value of points in the NFL to points in other sports. Like how much is a touchdown worth if you convert it to a goal in hockey? And then when you do this whole sort of sweaty, strained calculation, you come to realize that Wayne Gretzky is probably the most valuable NFL player ever. If we converted all his goals to NFL points, he would have been the greatest NFL player ever. So that's one of the conclusions of this odd method. But it's meant to be fun and kind of tempting and interesting.
Bacon wrapped cigarette for lunch?
Well, Dan had a funny idea when we were talking about it. You've heard of Tom Brady, I'm sure, who lives by this incredible clean living diet. And then we compared his diet to this famous quarterback for the Oakland Raiders, Kenny Stabler, who was a hard partier. So we compare the Tom Brady diet to the Kenny Stabler diet, and one of the items we suggest that Kenny Stabler had for breakfast was a bacon wrapped cigarette. So it's one of the items.
Kenny Stabler. Now, there's a name that I think from my generation. When did he play? Like in the 70s, 80s?
Oh, yeah. I think he probably retired. I'm going to say early 80s is my guess. Yeah, he was like old school Raiders when they were, really the bad boys of the league. And he was particularly a bad boy. Yeah.
And George Blanda was like the oldest kicker in the world who played for the Raiders.
Yes. All those guys.
Yeah.
I don't know that George Blanda is in the book, but Kenny Stabler definitely is saluted for his diet.
Bacon wrapped cigarette. That sounds good, actually.
Yeah, well, we can maybe if nothing comes out of this but that, you and I can start a business, vending machines and sell bacon wrapped cigarettes.
All right. On the other side of the diet list, kale for a tailgate party.
Yes.
That's definitely one I wouldn't bring. And I like this idea about so is a different fork, because the one tailgate that I've ever been, nobody had a fork. Everything was finger, you ate everything with your hands.
That's another funny idea that Dan had of like, let's have a list of funny things never to bring to a tailgate. So we just started working on it. And as you said, one of them is kale, especially if you keep calling it a superfood. And then other than that, you don't bring different size forks for every appetizer. Of course, there are no forks, as you said. The library book is on the list. Zumba workout tape. There's a bunch of things like that.
What's the other one? The fish knife for the fish course? Yeah, don't bring one of those.
Yes, exactly. There probably is not going to be a fish course. And if there is, you'll manage it without the specific knife.
Absolutely. Let's see. What else we got here? A one-act play about the tuck rule. Okay, I don't know what the tuck rule is. When I hear that term, I think of Target and their tuck your junk swimwear.
Well, I'm going to get the year wrong, but I'm going to say, let's say 98, 99, maybe 2002. Again, back with Tom Brady, there was a playoff game, and forgive me at the moment, I can't remember who they were playing against, and the Patriots were playing. It was snowy. He got hit from behind, and it looked like he fumbled, and it would have changed the course of the game. Whoever they were playing, recovering that fumble would have secured the victory. But the referees said that his arm was in motion, and he was in the motion of tucking the ball into his body, and consequently, it was not a fumble. It was this thing called the tuck rule, and of course, the Patriots went on to win the game and probably went on to win the Super Bowl that year. But it was this huge blow to fans who thought that the Patriots had lost and that the opposing team had won. So we've taken the drama of that and written a small one-act play of two people as if it were performed on Broadway about the pathos of the tuck rule.
Okay, see, I'm showing my football ignorance because I had no idea what a tuck rule was. So just for clarity, the tuck rule is if you're trying to pull the ball into your body and you drop it, it's not a fumble?
It's not a fumble. Pretty much that's it. And forgive me because I also don't know the exact specifics, but what clearly looked like a fumble was not because of this tucking motion. And maybe this isn't even a rule anymore. But yeah, at the time, the referee determined not a fumble, just he was tucking the ball in. So
okay.
Go to YouTube and watch like the tuck. You put in tuck rule, and you'll see this play, and you can decide for yourself. And you'll either want to, be furious or be elated, or maybe just ambivalent. You have three choices.
Okay. Well, on the same topic, the butt fumble.
Yes, that's very, very famous. Again, I think the year was maybe 2014, and there's a quarterback for the New York Jets. They were playing the Patriots, and he went to run the ball and ran into one of his teammates' butts, hitting it so hard that the ball popped loose from his arms, and the Patriots picked it up and ran it in for a touchdown. And it was just a very classic New York Jets thing to happen to the New York Jets. And it kind of ruined the Jets season. They were going to make the playoffs, and just after that, things fell apart, and they didn't. And it's actually listed as the second most embarrassing moment in NFL history. The first is when a guy ran the opposite direction of a touchdown. But that is a famous current event. Most people know about it, and we celebrated it with a limerick, a haiku, a song, and just talking about the butt fumble and how traumatic it was in the Jets' traumatic experience of existence.
Oh, where can I hear the song?
Well, it's in the book. I could try to send you later on. I have a short audio clip that someone made of it that I could try to send you if I remember. And it's charming. I'll try to send it to you later today.
Okay, I'd love to hear it. That sounds great.
Sure, it's not long. It's like a 20-second clip, but you'll be dancing to it. It'll change your life. It'll be your ringtone.
So you're back to work now that the strike is over. The strike went on for how long? Was it about 6 months?
148 days. Just around 5 months. 148 days, I believe, is the official total.
Okay, and The Simpsons is still going, which is amazing.
Still going. We're back at work right now on season 35, and then we'll do season 36 after that as well. The actors are still on strike, interestingly, but that hopefully is very close to a conclusion. You might even hear news this week or next, but it sounds like it's getting close to maybe wrapping up as well. But they've been on strike 75 days or 80 days or something like that.
Now, the writers went out first, and then the actors went out in sort of support, right?
A little bit. I mean, our contracts expired at different times, so they couldn't go on strike in support. But as soon as their contract expired, they couldn't seem to negotiate a satisfactory agreement, just like we couldn't. So they had a lot of the same problems. So yeah, we were in support. But even now, we resolved our issues, and they are struggling or working to resolve theirs. And like I said, I hope it's close, but I don't know.
Well, Joel, we got to wind this down. Thanks so much for coming on. The book is out now. It's been released?
Yes. The book is out, available everywhere. Hilarious, mediocre sports books are sold. You can buy it online. You can buy it in person. It's out and about and doing well. Okay.
Last question. Do you have a website you want to give out? Personal one or one for the book?
I'll just say if people want, they can certainly follow me on Instagram. I created an Instagram for the book called Sports Wrong, so at Sports Wrong. There's also a TikTok for that. Or if they feel like typing a lot of letters, there is a one-page website at the occasionally accurate Annals of Football. But there's more content and more fun, I think, on Instagram or TikTok at Sports Wrong.
Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. This was fun. And
my pleasure. Thank you.
Best of luck with everything you're doing.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.